This is a process of humans starting to self-represent instead of just going about their cognitive processes in a half-awake, sleeping manner, just them driving us. We're starting to self-represent the way figures can self-represent. As sort of a metaphor, we have squares that have each subsection is a representation of the whole. Each little piece represents the whole. And it's a self-representing pattern that just goes and goes and goes. And this is one way to think about the human mind starting to self-represent. We're starting to build mental models of ourselves within our own minds. Mental models of our bodies, mental models of our cognitive processes. Each piece represents the whole. This is a fractal, Sierpinski triangle, another way of thinking about how the human mind is beginning to self-represent, building mental models of itself within itself. And as a result, we gain this higher level capacity, not only as people, but as a civilization. Once you have representations of yourself and your own processes within your own mind, then you can do anything. We were locked out of the ability to fly until we gained mental representations how to fly. We were locked out of the ability to cure diseases, wipe them out, until we started to understand how to actually do that, build mental models of our immune system. And now we're building mental models of our own minds, and just like everything, we're going to reach inside ourselves and unlock all our mental processes, or at least the ones that we are capable of. And so we do this by representing in your own minds the levels of your own mind. Finally, we understand our brains are made out of neurons. Finally, we understand that they're processing information, computational processes. And then there's a symbolic level up here that we're all engaging with right now. We're all conscious of that. And then we have meta representations at the top that then represent the whole. The mind, intelligence representing itself. The mind, intelligence becoming meta-intelligent, finally, instead of just being driven and out of control and being impelled by forces we don't understand. The whole human story was about humans suffering from forces we don't understand. The forces of nature, the wind, the rain, the ocean storms. Oh, save me, Oracle of Delphi or people in Mount Olympus, until we are like, oh, actually we know what the wind and rain and ocean storms are. We know what disease is. We can take responsibility and control those things. We know what diseases, we know what mental illnesses are starting to, and we can start to control those things. This is the old ancient idea of knowing thyself. This is what was on I believe, the Oracle of Delphi's banner as people walked in. Know thyself, understand thyself. Self-enlightenment is the whole game. We've been waiting for it. We've been understanding the external reality through history, and now we've been waiting to finally know ourselves. And what does that mean? It means building mental models, building representations, building symbols in the mind that represent ourselves. And that opens up our capacity to engage with it. All our goals, external goals, internal goals, whether it's solving anything outside of us, going in the direction we want, or attaining some mental state that we want, attention, emotional happiness, fulfillment, happy family, whatever, internal, external, if we understand how to do it, we can get there. It's always about humans being locked out of goals we want until we build representations that allow us to then move in the right direction to then attain those goals, all of them. Impossible dreams that people in the past would think we were gods. Flying things, solving illness, talking to people on the other side of the planet, flying into space. Godlike powers, well, no, just the inherent potential of the human mind. There are two aspects of metacognition. This is just review from yesterday because it's a bit of an abstract concept. Monitoring, complex word. Are you just aware of it? Are you aware that you're awake in the morning? Are you aware that you want a coffee? Are you aware that an hour after a coffee you're feeling super jazzed up? You're noticing an internal mental state. We do this all the time. If you tell somebody, I don't know, or I know, or I don't feel that's right, your words are referencing an internal state. I'm really tired. I'm glad that happened. I like you. I don't like that person. You're using words that refer to an inner state. It's metacognition. And you can be aware of your internal states. We do this 1,000 times a day. Children do it. Animals do it to a greater or lesser degree. And then you control them. You steer your thoughts. You're like, okay, it's very important that I direct my attention over here. And if I don't, there'll be huge consequences. I'll fail, I'll be embarrassed. Okay, now I need to direct my attention over here. Okay, I'm gonna allow myself to check my email and then I'm gonna get right back to work. Or I'm gonna direct my attention over here. I'm going to control my emotions so that I don't have people think poorly of me for being emotionally immature adult, which is a big consequence in the world. But first you monitor, so it's the same thing your brain does all the time. You can monitor your external environment. You can control your external environment. We do this. This is what human beings do. We're aware. There's a door there. I'm going to walk through the door. I'm going to control the environment in a certain way, whatever it is. You're writing on your paper right now, and then your brain acts on the meta level. Okay, now I'm not aware of the slides. Now I'm aware of how I feel about this. This is super interesting. This is very useful. This could be the most important thing I ever learn. Yes, you're monitoring correctly. And then you are controlling your thoughts. This is important. I should write it down. This is probably on the test. There are 2 weeks on these things. Okay, it's probably definitely on the test. I should learn this really, really well. So you're controlling your thoughts to input it into your computer, onto your page, so that you can then retrieve the knowledge later and benefit from it. So you're aware of your thoughts, you're controlling your thoughts in a way that benefits you. So there are lots of different ways we can control our own minds. And here are meta representations that allow you to understand the different categories. You can control your attention. If you can't control your attention, you can't do anything. ADHD is real, ADD is real. The world is a ADHD creating machine right now because it gives you quick, automatic jolts of pleasure and dopamine from scanning things really quickly, quick little short video, check my email, check my Instagram, and your emotions. If you are haunted by negative emotions or there's some constantly unwell feeling state, well, it's your job to get out of that. If you don't know how, well, or at least have faith that it's possible. It's 100% possible for all people to leave their negative emotions pretty much permanently. Yeah, there's ways of doing it, and I'll talk about some ways today so that we're not locked into unnecessary suffering. And then you can control your memory. You can control your memory. You can get better at memory. We were talking about this yesterday, how there's techniques. You represent methods for controlling attention, emotion, memory, all the inside stuff, and then you can direct it beneficially. So Nelson and Aarons in 1990 distinguished between object level and meta level. Object level, meta level. Now it refers to some physical state or at least mental processes being directed external to us. Like if you're typing or you're driving or you're holding a coffee and sipping from it, your mind is directing your behavior external to you. Now notice that your meta level, your awareness of your cognitive states is starting to then direct your object level. If there are words that I'm saying this will be on the test, your meta level is aware of the importance and then it's directing your object level to write things down so that you can then benefit from it later. Meta level, representations, awareness inside of us, directed towards us, sort of inner eye if you want to think of it that way. And the object level are representations that refer to the external state. Reality out there. Object level, meta level. External, internal. Complex words, and it's pretty much your job to sort of just realize that these complex words and terms are just things you've already known your whole life. You can be aware of things outside of you, you can be aware of things inside of you, and then it's the job of academia to make it way more complicated than it needs to be. And then it's your job to realize, oh, these are just things that are very simple to understand because 5-year-olds understand it. How do you feel, Johnny? How do you feel, Sally? I feel sad. Why do you feel sad? Billy took my toy. Billy took my toy, object level. I feel sad, meta level. Susie's got a crush on Billy. Gives him a Valentine's Day card because she feels a crush at the meta level. These are things that are just normal human ways of engaging. So object knowledge that refers to cognition external to us. There's a representation, chunk, piece of knowledge. And then there's meta-knowledge, a chunk, a piece of knowledge, same thing, but it just refers to our feelings, our thoughts, our attention. Good old cognitive science shows how these pieces interact, like pieces of a mechano set. We can build these meta-representations inside of us. Here we go, meta-knowledge. Moving into working memory. Here's your conscious state in that rectangle. I have sound effects today. Want to hear that again? You super excited? Okay, so there's meta-knowledge moving into your working memory. Now you have conscious access to it. I want to control my attention. Now you have a meta-knowledge in your awareness. And that directs your procedural knowledge to start to move your system to direct your attention so that it benefits you. And that's how we can meditate, control our attention, control our emotions. It's the mind doing what it always does. It's not any sort of, well, it's sort of mysterious, but we're getting to understand it better and better using these computational theory of mind processes. So there are representations, informational formats moving together. Here's your awareness. You're aware now. And there is meta-knowledge in your awareness right now because I'm talking about meta-knowledge. And so this is exactly what's happening. Only you're not directing your mental states so much as you're directing your external states to input meta-knowledge into your computer, into your phone, into your notepad. Okay, meta-representations. So this is an actual test a teacher took a picture of. And the test question is for like some 5-year-old, I think. Bobby has 4 dimes. Amy has 30 pennies. Which child has more money? And the child writes Bobby. How do you know? Show your thinking. So he's showing his thinking here by writing Bobby into a balloon. But this child is meta-representing their own thoughts. They're like, what is my thought? Okay, the teacher wants me to show my thinking. I'll show my thinking. She'll be so happy. So now we're mapping things onto what children can do as well as your own experience. Meta-representing, big, overly complicated academic word for something we all do all the time. Okay, here's a video. Anybody ever hear of the marshmallow test? A few people. I'm gonna play this video, it's just like 3 minutes, but you get the idea. You watch kids trying to self-control, try to steer their mental processes in a way that gets them a second marshmallow. But they have to wait, they have to wait. They have to be, you see the kids who are metacognitively monitoring, they're aware of the desire to eat their marshmallow, and they're stopping their body from eating the marshmallow, so if they wait and control their thoughts, they will be able to benefit in the long run. And they've noticed that people who have, children who have greater metacognitive abilities and learn metacognitive abilities are then more successful later on in life. Deferred gratification gets them better marks, better relationships, better jobs, more happiness and fulfillment. And so watch kids metacognitively monitor and control here. This kid is aware and trying to control, aware of his inner mental state and trying to control. Look how unhappy he is. He is so unhappy, that kid. So I'm just going to check this video here. Still working? Great. So kids metacognitively monitor. Here, these are just fancy words for things we all use, kids use all the time. And basically this is mental self-control, mental self-awareness and control. And what they're doing is they're trying to use meta-knowledge. The ones who actually survived the test, this grueling ordeal, were the ones who maintained in their mind, maintained in their working memory, a meta-representation saying, I need to control my desire to eat this marshmallow and then something good will happen. Interesting point. There's one kid, researchers found, opened up the marshmallow, ate the inside of the marshmallow, put it back together. And the researcher said, keep your eye on that kid. And yeah, it tracks later on kids who just have better ability to delay gratification, control their minds, be aware of their minds. They do better. They have better relationships, better jobs, better fulfillment in life. They're aware of some natural curiosity. And then their curiosity doesn't just sit on a shelf. They go, okay, I need to sacrifice watching shows binge watching shows, checking my Instagram all the time, all the superficial, meaningless, not important pleasures, I'm going to put down, even though I know that they're pleasurable. I'm going to put them away, turn the data off on my phone, block my internet, delete the apps, whatever it takes, so that the things that are more fulfilling to me, the things that give me meaning, the things that 20 years down the line I'm going to have satisfaction, fulfillment, deep personal pride as a result of getting good at something or having a life of meaning instead of just superficial, meaningless pleasure. If you can do that, if you can metacognitively be aware of and control your own mental states, then you can achieve that gold level, high level stuff that you really want in life. And if you can't do that, well then, unfortunately, it'll just be a life of meaningless pleasure and not a lot of happiness. So, our cousins in the animal kingdom, other animals, have metacognition, not high-level conceptual metacognition, not those blue metacognitive chunks that go into our working memory. No, they have what's called System 1, automatic, just more metacognitive monitoring. They can be aware of their emotions in a certain way, or they can be aware of somebody else's emotions in a certain way, but they can't do the high-level stuff. They have a really hard time controlling their attention and controlling their emotions, just throwing things. But monkeys, for example, demonstrate metacognition by avoiding memory tests when they forget. They know they don't know. They can seek information when they're ignorant, and they can gamble sensibly. Here's a funny story, or a fun story anyway. So I think I may have told you this. You can make monkeys gamble. Monkeys in a room, and there's math tests through a clear screen. You've seen monkeys do math tests where they click a touch screen on a wall, and they go, 1 + 1 = 2, 3 + 2 = 5. And they'll give them chips. The researchers will give the monkeys chips, like gambling chips, poker chips, and there's a slot, and they'll say, okay, when you know a math test answer, bet. Put as many chips as you want through the slot, and if you're correct, you'll get a treat, either a piece of a banana if you just put in one token, or a whole banana if you put in all your tokens. And so if they get it right, they say, okay, 2 + 3 is 5. I'm going to bet the farm, all my chips, because they know, and they'll get the banana. If they know they don't know or they're unsure, if they're like, I'm kind of sure, they'll bet 2 chips just to get a piece of a banana, because they don't want to lose their chips because they're not sure. If they know they don't know, they're like, no, I'm not losing any of my chips. No way. I'm going to wait for a question that I know. Or they'll even ask researchers for a hint, not verbally obviously, but they go, I know I don't know, and they'll kind of do this. They'll point to the screen like a baby. They go, can I get a hint? I want the banana. Can I get a hint? I know I don't know. Give me information. So monkeys can metacognize. Same with dolphins. Dolphins, when they can point with their snout to same thing, a touch screen through a glass wall, they know they're going to get a fish if they get it right, the question right, and they'll get really excited when they know that they know, before they've even answered the question. They know. They're going to get the fish. So these are pretty empirically solid ways of empirically verifying, or at least giving good evidence for, the fact that not just humans, but other animals, other cognitive systems can be aware of their own processes. And it does sort of line up with them looking in a mirror, knowing that it's them, not another monkey. You've probably seen pictures, videos of dogs looking in a mirror and starting to bark at the other dog, starting to try to attack the other dog in the mirror. Monkeys will do that too, but at some point, they'll start to look at themselves and they'll start to look up their nose in the mirror. Elephants will do that too. They'll start to have their ears out, and then they'll approach the mirror and they go, And they start to look in their own mouths, and they start to pick things out of their mouth. There's something else you can do, or they've done to show that animals can meta-represent. So, like, say in a zoo, You have a sleeping orangutan. You can picture a sleeping orangutan. And while the animal is sleeping, a researcher will sneak up and they'll take a red piece of chalk on their finger and they'll put, while the animal's closed, they'll put a dot on their forehead right there. And so the animal will wake up and the orangutan will not know that there's a red dot in the middle of their forehead. And they're going about their business, they're just kind of hanging out. And then they'll walk past a mirror and they go, huh. And then they walk away. Clearly they represented that that's them in the mirror. They have concepts, mental representations that represented their own processes, and then they were able to then engage with themselves in a way that mapped onto a mental model and then got that very cruel trick the researcher played on them off their forehead. And there's evidence that even, pigeons, rats have some way of being aware of whether they have certain information. And of course it gets to a very, very low level, and then it goes up to the very high human level. Well, hey, you're in a class on metacognition with the highest metacognitive knowledge in the history of the world, and then it goes down from there. But it's not just about being aware of your own mind. You can use mental representations to be aware of other people's minds. This is the closest thing we have to telepathy, people. Now, we can't actually access other people's thoughts and feelings. I wish we could, but the data says we can't. Never have, never will. It's too bad. But, or maybe not, but how we access other people's minds is we build mental models, meta-representations of how other people feel. Well, I do this, or I do this, or I do this, or I do this. You have mental representations in your mind that are corresponding to emotional interstates. And this is what social animals have this ability to do. We can build representations in our mind that correspond to data we get from people. Now, if I'm doing this, you can tell that I'm hesitant towards something, or there's something not right, and you ask, what's wrong? Now, if I'm drinking a lot of water, and I'm asking you not to talk to me while I'm drinking water, you're doing this, you're having a mental representation that's accessing how I feel. Wow, he's really thirsty. And if I just sip, you can have a mental representation that my inner state is just sort of thirsty. I just need to, have a sip because I've been talking for 45 minutes. Now, there was a paper published in 1978. Do chimpanzees have a theory of mind? Theory of mind just means you have representations in your own head that corresponds to other people's thoughts or corresponds to other people's emotions or corresponds to whatever reason they are acting in a certain way. And you can represent how people feel. It's not always correct, but monkeys apparently have a theory of mind. They can meta-represent that their child's curious, and they can show their child, or they meta-represent that their child is hungry. They can get their child food. They can represent their child is scared, and they can soothe their child. Now, if they have no theory of mind, they're not going to soothe their child when they're scared. They're not going to give them food when they're crying. They're not going to show them anything when they're curious. Without meta-representations, we are totally blind to each other's feelings. We have no empathy. We have no compassion. So not only is it important for social animals to engage in a society, but it's also important for us to engage compassionately with one another. So this theory of mind, there's different terms for it, meta-representation or meta-knowledge. It's just a way of trying to understand how other people feel and think. And we have evolved as social primates the ability to socially reason about each other. This also gets into social cognition, which we'll talk about in a few weeks, where the better you are at representing people's emotions, the better you can interact with them. Well, they know that if I do this, they're going to get angry. If, or social etiquette, I know that if somebody tries to greet me and I've never met them before and I'm sitting down and I just kind of limply shake their hand, they're going to take that as an insult. They're going to have an emotion of anger. So what you do is you stand up and you direct your attention and say, nice to meet you, and then they take it as respect. and they won't have a negative emotion in their mind. Now you've maintained them as a resource. Now you can go up and talk to them and say, hi, what's your name again? What do you do? But if you behave in a way that's has poor etiquette, now you can't engage with them. They have negative emotions towards you. And so basically a lot of what we do is just about trying to avoid negative emotions in other people's minds. We don't interrupt. We don't try to loudly yawn while they're talking. Or if we do, we say, excuse me, because we want to show them respect. Etiquette is all about showing respect for the other person, which means you're trying to keep positive emotions referring to you in their mind. And meta-representation, mind reading, theory of mind, allows us to infer how other people will feel when we do things so that they will then think well of us and we won't, piss them off. Here's a editorial cartoon where this husband says to his upset wife, "Of course I care about how you imagined I thought you perceived I wanted you to feel." Of course. Honey? How could you say I didn't? Well, it lost me. But basically, relationships break down when the other person thinks that you don't care about their emotions. If you're wondering how to nurture relationships with your family, with friends, show you care about their emotions. Give them a mental representation of your inner emotion towards them. People want to feel like other people care about their emotions. And when they don't, then they feel disconnected, they feel angry, they feel hurt. Maybe you know about this in your own life. If you feel that somebody hasn't meta-represented your emotions, you feel hurt, you feel angry, you feel like trust is broken. All those negative emotions come up as a result of other people not meta-representing well how you feel or showing disregard for it. You're trying to tell a story of something that bothered you, and then they cut you off and say, I was driving today and I was thinking I really wanted a sandwich. And you stare at them, and you might just walk away and not want to call them, and that could be the end of the relationship. They didn't care about how you feel. So meta-representing, mind reading, theory of mind is core to what builds positive human relationships. And if you're wondering what you're missing in your life in a lot of relationships, is people caring about how you feel. And if you want to show people that you care about them, simply pay attention and empathize and repeat what they feel. That's all you got to do. Not all, but it's part of it. Questions, comments, thoughts? Okay. Now, metacognition, we talked about how there's a system 1, system 2 process in the mind. There's automatic dominoes falling. There's automatic procedural knowledge just ballistically firing in the dark, unconsciously, automatically, moving our arms and legs without even thinking about it. Sleepwalking sort of, metacognition too. So if we have some feeling, so here's a feeling in working memory here. This is a little blue blob here. It's called epistemic feelings. It's a signal in our mind that we know something, or how we feel, or whether we're uncertain. Like if a monkey is aware that they know the answer, they're going to get a feeling in their awareness that they know. If they know they don't know the answer to something, they're going to get a feeling that they don't know. If you wake up in the morning and you're aware you're awake, you're going to get this feeling. I'm conscious of myself being awake. If you don't agree with somebody, you might not be able to refer to it right away, but you'll get a feeling and your brow will crease. Why? Because your feeling is directing your facial expressions. And you'll maybe do this with showing with your body language. You don't agree. Why? Because you're getting a feeling that I don't agree. It refers to a mental state inside of you. These are just low-level System 1 feelings. And it's considered usually automatic, quick, not requiring a lot of working memory. It operates kind of in the shadows of our mind all the time, which is why when you feel you know something, or you feel someone's bad, or you feel someone's talking bad about you, or you feel that someone's an angry person, or that they're some negative slur, whatever. It's just a feeling. It's a feeling that's driving your mental processes, and largely you don't know where it comes from. Our feelings kind of operate in the half shadows of our mind. The half shadows. System 1, metacognition. step out into the daylight, into the bright daylight of System 2 metacognition, we have meta-knowledge retrieved into working memory and then drives our mental actions. You can control your attention, you can control your emotions, or if you feel negatively about somebody, you can say, no, wait a second, knowledge can come down, like, why do I feel negative about that person? Do I really hate that person for any good reason? Do I have any evidence? What do I have? The person was really rushed when they were talking to me. Okay, well, that caused a negative emotion of dislike, that they were disrespectful, they didn't like me, that I wasn't worth their time. But maybe knowledge can come down and mitigate it and say, but maybe they were in a rush. Maybe they had a bad phone call that their mother was sick. Maybe I've been in a rush and I've rushed past people and I didn't intend to insult them either. And then you can forgive them as a result, and your hatred, your epistemic feeling of knowing or not knowing or whatever can dissolve as a result. Which is why a lot of therapeutic processes, even a lot of religions, will have meta-knowledge saying, no, your feelings of hatred are not good. Your feelings of desiring to do violence towards other people, not good. A lot of religious edicts are about trying to control your emotions in a beneficial way. Forgive, show compassion even towards people you're angry towards. Don't let your System 1 epistemic feelings direct your behavior. That's the path towards unhappiness and violence and social destruction. System 2 metacognition is how we mitigate our desire to do automatic processes, not just eat the marshmallow, but also ruin a relationship just because you're mad at the person. You want to blurt, or you want to drive into that person on the road who just cut you off, or you want to scream at your mother, or throw the dinner across the room. Your feelings will tell you one thing, but your System 2 metacognition can say that's just going to lead to unhappiness, destruction. That's not good. So your System 2 metacognitive knowledge can direct you in a beneficial, rational, ethical way. Does that make sense? Conceptually driven, it's a little slower, which is why our feelings of knowing and unknowing are automatic. Knowledge takes time to be retrieved from our declarative memory. We have things we've been taught since birth, or through some sort of system of philosophy or whatever else, saying, here's how you should engage with your feelings. And over time, you will become less automatically angry, less automatically judgmental, less automatically desirous of automatic, what do you call it when you hit something and you feel better. Catharsis, that was the word. Catharsis, people think, it would be cathartic for me to break something. Actually, that's not true. The more you do negative things, the more negative feelings you'll have. It actually just increases them. So now we're getting an x-ray not only into your own mind, but how your mind can direct itself. What happens in the half shadows of your mind? Your feelings will say you know, you don't know, you hate somebody, you dislike somebody, you like somebody. They're a really good person, they're a really bad person. Oh, that person intended to show disrespect for me. And then your System 2 conceptual knowledge can say, wait a second, maybe not. I've been there. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Like in a jury, for example, the judge will tell the jury, okay, now you may have some biases about this person. You don't like their ethnicity, their skin color, the fact that they're rich, the fact that they're poor. You don't like the shirt they're wearing. You don't like their face. You don't like things that don't matter about them. And the judge will say, hold on to your feelings. Restrain them. And they'll give you meta-knowledge, say, discount things that are irrelevant. Prioritize facts. The person is innocent until proven guilty. Deprioritize all your emotions. Just look at the facts and make an assessment based on the knowledge you have, not your feelings. So many people who have been on juries have said, I felt so strongly that they were guilty. Oh, I felt so strongly. I knew right away they were guilty. And then it turned out they were in another country when that murder happened. And their feelings were totally wrong. And they were cosmically sure. So beware of cosmically sure feelings. Our feelings speak to all of us, not just you. All of us, with the same voice of pseudo-truth. Our feelings speak to us in the same voice of pseudo-truth. Feelings of knowing drive our processes, drive our cognitive processes all the time. They act in the background of our minds. They say, go this way, go that way, retrieve knowledge, don't retrieve knowledge. And they drive memory search. Last class, we talked about the tip of the tongue phenomenon. Everybody knows what it's like to look at an actor and say, I know that actor, what's their name? What's their name? I know their name. What's going on? They have a feeling of knowing. There's a feeling of knowing in their working memory. I know that actor. What's their name? They don't have but their feeling is attached to their deep memory. There's like a string attached to their declarative memory saying the feeling's there. Just try harder. There's a green light. It's a signal in your working memory saying, you know. And you know, but you just don't have the symbol yet. So if you try harder, you can retrieve it. And you say, okay, who played Wolverine in the X-Men movies? Okay, I know his face. Was it Ryan? No, it wasn't Ryan. You have a feeling attached to a string in your deep memory, and your feeling is trying to pull up the knowledge. And then you say, Hugh Jackman, that was it. Now you have a symbol joining your feeling of knowing. So your feelings will tell you whether you know something or whether you don't know something. And your feelings will say, I know I don't know it. Who played the second lead in Casablanca in 1954? I know I don't know it. There's no feeling there. I don't even have to look. My feeling is saying, don't even bother looking. It's a time saver. Your feelings will say whether you should even bother reaching in your memory and feeling around for all the things you know. Can you imagine trying to reach into your memory and feel around for everything you know or don't know? No, now you have a time saver. You have a feeling come up and say, it's down there, keep looking. You go, okay, Hugh Jackman, right. I knew that. I knew it wasn't Ryan Reynolds. Your feelings are automatic, quick, lightning fast time savers that give you that System 1 automatic process, telling you, okay, here's how you can retrieve, if you just spend more time, you can retrieve the knowledge. So tip of the tongue is a metacognitive phenomena that we all experience. I don't know the person, I don't know the answer, but it's on the tip of my tongue. You've been through a test and you've been looking through the answers, or the questions. You look through the questions on a test and you go, I feel I know that. Hold on a second, give me a second, I know that. Jeopardy. Ever watch Jeopardy? What are they doing with the buzzer? They have a feeling they know first. It's not their knowledge telling them they know. It's their feeling making them hit the buzzer. And then they have time to go, what is Connecticut? Then the symbol joins their feeling. So when people are hitting the buzzer in Jeopardy, it's System 1 metacognition, the feeling state driving the process. So the buzzer is a symbol of their feelings connected to their knowledge, telling them that they know, and then they have a second to pull up the symbol to then get the point. Now, a lot of times it'll be wrong. They'll say, what is the Yukon? No, sorry, we can't accept that. Oh, my feeling lied to me that time. So not always true. But now you're mapping onto your own experience things you've been feeling your whole life. You're getting meta-knowledge now to meta-represent processes that you felt have been in the half shadows of your mind your whole life, and now you're building mental models to meta-represent your own mental states, your own deep structure, your own mechanisms, so they don't have to operate in the half shadow anymore. Okay, how about this one? Who invented the telephone? Okay, so you have a feeling of knowing telling you you know, right? Do you have the symbol too? Don't tell me. Who has a feeling of knowing of who invented the telephone? Okay, who has the symbol? You have the symbol? Okay, what was it? Yes, close enough. It was right, because your feelings were attached to your knowledge state. Now that's a feeling of knowing, saying it's down there, keep looking. Now if I said, what's the seventh dinosaur ever discovered? It's a wind tunnel. That feeling of not knowing, saying, I don't know, seventh dinosaur ever discovered, are you kidding me? Who knows that? That's your feeling saying, directing your process is saying, don't even bother looking, I know it's not there. So your feelings can tell you how to direct your processes, and your meta-knowledge can be aware of or can be representing them. Now, a lot of therapeutic processes are doing what I'm doing now. They start to give you concepts, meta-knowledge, to help you understand and direct your own mental processes. So you're not in the shadows of your own mind anymore. You build mental models, just like we were locked out of flying before we build mental models of how to fly. Once we build mental models, we lift ourselves up off the ground and soar around the world. You build mental models of how your mind works, you can lift yourself up. Metacognitive instructions play a large role in the success of cognitive therapy, metacognitive therapy including, which can help tell you how to interact with your own emotions, saying your emotions will do this, they'll feel like that, here's how you can interact with them, and they will decrease negative emotions over time. This can involve reframing. If something bad happened to you, you can say that should never have happened, that was terrible, and you just feel traumatized for it forever. And a lot of times you can say, you know what, if that negative thing hadn't happened, now you're reframing, if that negative thing hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be stronger. So that was actually made me better, even though I wouldn't want to go through it again. You can reframe the negative things and say, you know what, I'm at peace with it because I'm stronger, I'm better, I'm more mature, I have more knowledge, I have more experience, and you can cognitively, metacognitively reframe your own experience in a narrative way that makes you at peace with the things that have happened to you, if they're negative, and can build a story narrative to show that it is leading to your greater well-being. If you have ruminating thoughts, I just can't stop worrying or having anxiety or whatever, there are processes that you can do to stop your automatic thoughts from happening. Or emotional calming techniques. Anxiety, class presentation, you're going on a date, or you're at a job interview. Anxiety, there's ways of engaging with your anxiety. So it calms it, soothes it, and you can engage with whatever process there is in a beneficial, clear, effective way. Now, at first, one of the first things the therapist says is, now, be aware that just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. Your thoughts are not reality. Don't believe everything you think. Again, we all think naturally, just as children do. Our thoughts are directly hooked into reality. Maybe people's aren't, but mine are. Maybe other people's thoughts aren't hooked into reality, but mine are. They have a special, right? So all our thoughts, and especially when you're young, can whisper to you, my thoughts are special. My feelings are specially hooked into reality. Now, they're special because they're yours. That doesn't mean they're true, though. So, inappropriately ascribing a truth value to all your feelings and all your thoughts is extremely harmful. Having them be in a middle space, they could be true, they could be not. That person could have intended to be mean to me, they could not have. They could have just been in a hurry, or maybe they got a call from their mother saying my cancer tests came in and it's looking bad. That's why they're upset. It wasn't personal. It's just things you can do. Maybe they're having the worst day of their life. Your feelings weren't true, that they were actually trying to be mean to you. So don't believe everything you think. Don't believe everything you feel. Yes, it's a little disappointing that my feelings and thoughts aren't specially hooked into reality. I can totally sympathize with that. But getting past that point is part of maturing for all human beings, getting into a proper adult stage where you realize my thoughts can be wrong, my feelings can be wrong. Don't just automatically trust the things that I feel or think. They can lead you into harmful automatic behaviors that treats other people badly, that can get you into addictive processes, bad habits, negative cycles of feeling and thinking that make you stay that way and sabotage your whole life. Like, everything depends on you learning how to interact with your mind beneficially. Cognitive therapy is, these are terms, psychotherapy, process of teaching, or just being a mental coach. Coaching you towards positive behaviors helps you reinforce positive cognitive patterns, positive emotional patterns that then lead to beneficial behaviors. Helps you, CBT, cognitive therapy, helps you identify, understand, and modify your own thinking instead of just being driven by it. Instead of you being like a horse with a bridle on, leading the cart, and your feelings and your thoughts are whipping you, saying, further, faster, this way, that way. You can be in the driver's seat, pull back on the reins and direct them in a beneficial way by first creating meta-awareness between you and your thoughts, instead of just being in your thoughts, like being in a dream. Everybody knows what it's like to be in a dream. You're identified with the experience. You're not meta-aware in a dream. You only realize after you wake up that whatever drama you were in wasn't true. It was totally unnecessary. Whatever terror, whatever feeling, whatever sadness, whatever angst was totally not true, totally unnecessary, totally not real. But you didn't have any meta-awareness. There was no space between you and your experiences. And so you were helplessly enslaved to whatever you were experiencing. Oh, you were aware of what was going on, but you weren't aware that you were aware. You weren't meta-aware like you are right now. You're aware that you're aware right now. And if you can build a meta space between you and your thoughts, now you have a degree of freedom you didn't otherwise have. Instead of just being enslaved to your thoughts and your feelings, like being in a nightmare, you can build a space between them and you can wake up from them, or at least you can have a degree of freedom that allows you to engage with that beneficially. Just like the mind engaging with any system, if you understand it, now you have a measure of control over it. And if you don't, then you're a slave to it. And therapists start to talk to clients and they say, very important to start with meta-awareness. Your thoughts are not reality. Feelings are just feelings, not reality. Now, you can start building meta-awareness by thinking, what's my next thought? Okay, just being aware of my next thought. Then you watch them arise and pass, arise and pass. Feelings, be aware of the moment-to-moment experience of their impermanence. That they're not permanent, but they tell you they're permanent. So when you're going through a negative emotion, notice the subtle voice saying, I'm permanent. No, this negative emotion, this is permanent this time. Well, it's never been permanent. It's impossible. But just like being in a dream, your feelings, your thoughts will speak to you and tell you things that aren't true. So you maintain this nightmare scenario that is unnecessary. Building a meditation process, contemplative process, will build in a meta-awareness space that allows you then interact with your processes in a way that gets you out of the dream state. Metacognitive therapy. Love this picture. Take sort of a step back. Engages with metacognitive beliefs. Now, it's even shown to be slightly more successful than cognitive therapy. You take a step back, okay, there's me being aware of my thoughts and feelings, but then there's me being aware of how I engage with my thoughts and feelings. Do I think that they're necessarily true? Do I think they're necessary? Is worry necessary? Oh, I need to engage with worry because it helps me be aware of what's wrong in my life and I can fix it that way. Oh, I need to have this anxiety because the anxiety is a signal of truth. Well, if you take a step back and unhook that belief, that metacognitive belief, my anxiety is not necessarily a signal of truth. It's a fire alarm going off when there's no fire. Or as somebody once put it, it's like playing a video game and there's boss music playing, but there's no boss. It's a miss signal. And how you engage with your actual beliefs, your metacognitive beliefs, is important. Believing is necessary to action. Believing something is possible is the precursor to action. So if you believe that you can direct your thoughts and emotions, if you believe that it's possible to build a metaspace between you and your thoughts, to wake up from them, just the way you can wake up from a dream, then you start to actually go about the processes of doing that. You have to believe first, and then your mental intelligent processes will start to work towards unlocking whatever problem there is. If you feel identified with your feelings, if you feel there's no space between you and your thoughts, you can build that space. Absolutely, but it takes metacognitive practice, meditation practice, just quietly being aware of your thoughts. Take 5 minutes, just be aware of your thoughts. Instead of them sneaking up on you from behind and hijacking your awareness, just be aware of them. Okay, 5 minutes, close your eyes, be aware of what's my next thought. What's going to be arising in my awareness? I'm aware of my thoughts. Instead of just being in them like in a dream, I can just be aware of them. And over time, you'll realize, oh, actually, now I feel like I'm kind of stepped back from my thoughts. They don't just hijack me all the time. That's right, you've built metacognitive procedural knowledge that is now interacting with your thoughts automatically. That's helping you. So it helps you modify your thinking processes, change your beliefs, control your attention. These are processes that actually help you lift yourself up out of the unnecessary drama of the dream state of automatic thoughts and feelings. Promoting detached mindfulness is a very important thing. Huge benefits there. Being aware that your thoughts are not reality, that your feelings are not reality, is one of those metacognitive processes that are very useful in terms of knowing your limitations, knowing that you don't have special access to reality. No one does. Fortunately and unfortunately. And this allows for more adaptive thinking. We know that the modern world is designed to sort of keep you in the superficial pleasure of the dream state, of just automatic processes firing ballistically. Next potato chip, ooh, piece of candy, piece of candy, piece of candy. Next app, scroll, next YouTube video. 4 hours later, do you feel good? Are you happy? No, everyone feels miserable. Like you just got thrown off the back of a truck. You're depressed. You want to crawl out of your own skin. It's gross. Binging on superficial pleasures, food, whatever. You literally want to crawl out of your own skin. And you think, I'll never do that again. But of course we all do. How do we avoid automatic pleasure that makes us feel horrible? Well, metacognitive training is one thing we'll talk about next class, and this is essential towards living in the modern world, because the modern world is an addiction-creating machine. Apps, games, social media hijack the learning pathways of the brain. That underground process that your deep brain goes about reward learning, dopamine hit, piece of candy, next potato chip, scroll, until you literally want to just knock yourself out because you're so unhappy. So avoiding that addiction-creating mechanism of the modern world is crucial, because people are becoming captive to compulsive behaviors, attentional issues, emotional problems. And so knowing the weakness of our own minds, understanding the weakness of our deep brain is crucial. The deep mammalian or lizard brain, whatever you want to call it, operates in the dark, just grabbing the next superficial pleasure, and will lead you into the shadows. But, good news, metacognition, that system 2, knowledge-driven process, can counteract that process, can decrease addictive tendencies, can overwhelm those automatic pleasure-seeking, unhappiness-creating processes in the deep brain. You can, through metacognitively becoming skillful, lift yourself up past unhappiness-creating automaticity. And your happiness in life, happiness of society, happiness of civilization largely depends around getting over the mind's automaticity. Automaticity for violence, automaticity for pleasure-seeking, negative automaticity, pleasurable automaticity. Thinking clearly, thinking about thinking, instead of just automatically going about processes just like we have for thousands of years that are not beneficial to us, that are cataclysmic. I mean, nothing is shown to be more dangerous than the human mind just automatically doing what it does. I think we'll leave it there for today. You can meditate on what's happening in the world, what's happening in your own life, and whether metacognitive knowledge would be beneficial to that. Okay, I will see you on Tuesday. We're going to talk more about this, more about metacognitive skill, and I'll give you actual techniques for going about what I've been talking about. Okay, see you on Tuesday.